here we go, Sprint 7. We're going to share with you our progress to date. So just to remind you all, we're delivering the Fieldworker project, which comes under the New Ways of Working programme as a digital enabler. We are delivering Agile, we're in the beta phase, and this is an evolving solution. So you might actually notice things look a little bit different from the last time that you've seen them, and they may well change and look a little bit different in the future. That's because it's an evolving solution. We're continuing to build, working alongside the feedback and the input from our users, who are the product owners. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Zahir Akhtar, who's our PO. Zahir.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you for that intro. I think most of you would know me by now. And if not, my name is Zahir Akhtar. I'm the product owner on the Fieldworker project. So just a very quick recap of what we had covered in the last session. So in the last session, we showed you from a mobile application perspective. We showed you what was the an early view of the designs for the mobile app. In today's session, we moved on a bit from there, and today we want to show you some of the development, the actual application in its development progression, and where we are in terms of developing it. So we're going to be showing a number of different aspects of it, and we'll go into some of the details as we go along in those demos. So in terms of what the Sprint 7 goal was, so from as most of you may have seen the architecture, and that you would know that the architecture falls into two distinct areas, and those two distinct areas are integration and the mobile application layer. Now we have another aspect to this application, as you all know, about the risk marker, and that indeed is a integral part of what we're developing here as well, and that we'll demonstrate that as well. So in terms of, which is why I wanted to highlight that, because the goal is based upon those three distinct areas: the two aspects of the application build, and then the area for risk marker. So integrators, their goal was, and this is the integration layer, their goal was to move the fire and risk database to Nutanix, setting up the monitoring and auditing features. Now, just give you a bit of a background to why the fire and risk database, and why and that move to Nutanix. One of the principles that we had when we started developing the architecture for the Fieldworker platform was that we wanted to minimize at all, if possible, to reduce the amount of data that we store on the Fieldworker platform when it comes to line of business application. So when we had started developing the work for the fire and risk database, we initially had that database on Azure, and now in Sprint 7, the aim was to now move it to Nutanix, which is the on-prem environment that BCC manage. And of course, monitoring and auditing features are a very important aspect of the Fieldworker platform. The Transformers goals was to enable the caretaker to view his jobs and carry out a daily inspection, and for managers to assign cover for caretakers. We're going to be able to demonstrate that today to you. Firefighters, their goal was to include mitigations and control measures when raising a risk and continuation of matching a risk. So the work on mitigations and control measures was was completed by firefighters, but the end-to-end goal, so the end-to-end flow for that hasn't been completed. That wasn't part of the goal. And the matching process, we have gone some way. It's been a long task to get to the process of matching a risk. We've completed one element of the matching element, and we want to try and demonstrate that today to you. So that's the goal for Sprint 7. That's and this we're hoping to demonstrate this to you guys today. So just before we go into the demos, I just want to talk to you a bit about the Agile way and what that means. For I know in the previous session, Raf spoke a bit about the ways of working, but I just want to make it really clear, make it clear to everyone that the way that we're working, we are working in an agile way, and that entails a number of things. We're adapting to change, and we do that, in every sprint. And how do we do that? Well, we are working continuously with our business stakeholders. When we speak to them, they may come out with some change or something that wasn't clear previously, and that's come out in further detailed discussions. As those detailed discussions are coming about, we need to adjust some of our thinking, some of our tasks and user stories that we've got on the sprint on the product backlog. And that way of working with the business stakeholders has been reflective on the way that we're managing our sprints as we go along. So, and one of the ways that the ways that we're working with the business stakeholders is that our business change and our user research and the business analysts have been working very hard behind the scenes to try and work to get working groups up and running, and they've got focus groups as well. The working group, as you know, we are the first service area that we're looking to onboard is the fire and risk service area, and there's a working group now up and running with them, and we're meeting with them on a weekly basis. And that interaction with them is actually enabling us to adapt the product as we are developing it. And you'll see that actually when we start demonstrating, and we start to talk a bit more about the process that's gone behind some of that development. So I'm going to kick off straight into the demonstration of the integration layer.
Hi, I'm Andrew. I'm part of the DevOps team, so I'm part of the integration layer. I'm going to run through a few of our tasks that we had with Sprint 7. Zahir did mention a couple of them, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail right now. So one of our first tasks was the moving of a database to Nutanix.
And are you going to share your screen?
Yes, mate, just doing it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so so as Zahir mentioned, it was a cost-cutting exercise. We already had the Nutanix platform in place, so it seemed a bit crazy to accrue more costs using database in the Agile platform. So Fran worked with DBAs closely to actually migrate one of the databases over. That also involved a knowledge transfer session, as the DBAs haven't touched Azure at this point, so that was a good transfer session. As you can see, we've got one database currently in the Nutanix platform now. We've set out it with Swagger, so the front-end developers can access it. We can see that this Swagger is actually connecting to our new database in the Nutanix platform. moving on, the next biggest task we were charged with was configuring, monitoring and auditing, which was quite a big task. We started off writing a POC to put towards Dal, Zahir and Naga to make sure we had the approach sign-off, which they did. We put that into place, and as you can see, this little graphic, how it works is the front end can generate an operation ID, which we are envisioning is going to be a GUID. They pass that operation ID into the APIM, which then maintains that same GUID, which is passed through the various components in the stack. I can give you a quick demo of how that looks now. We separated the logging into two distinct components. So we got one which is logging, and then the second one which is auditing. The reasons why that was, in case we wanted to truncate the logging, we can leave auditing as is. What you're looking at here is called Application Insights. It allows a person who's got access to the portal to actually run queries and return data. And here is the operation ID that's been passed through. On top of this, Power BI can also be connected, so we can run more advanced reports. The final part of that task for the Sprint 7 was knowledge transfer, which we worked closely with Inan, who was working on the risk marker aspect of the project. He came in cold to .NET, so we were providing knowledge transfer of .NET to Inan, which allowed him to successfully complete his tasks. So, any questions? Nope.
No, that was great, Andy. Thank you.
Andy.
That was really
Cheers.
good. So as everybody will know, Andy's one of a member from Gary's development team in IT&D. So it's super fantastic to see your demo today, Andy. Thank you. Zahir, back to you.
Thank you, Andy. And just that quite neatly leads us onto the demo for the mobile application. So our Kiran, our tester, will be demonstrating the mobile app. But it won't just be the mobile app that he'll be demonstrating. He'll also be demonstrating so some of the admin screens that our team leaders or managers would use to provide cover, and we'll demonstrate that as well. And also he will also be demonstrating viewing risks from the risk marker database. So I'm going to hand over to Kiran.
Thanks, Zahir. So I hope everyone can see my screen. Afternoon, everyone. So I've already logged in to the mobile app using a Caretaker test account, which was set up by Zafar, our solution architect on this project. So once I've logged in, this is the landing homepage with listing all the jobs, and these are going to be the upcoming features in the future sprints. So for now, Caretaker logs in, he can tap on jobs to see two options, view assigned jobs and unassigned jobs. And by default, all of the jobs will be unassigned for a Caretaker. So they tap on the view unassigned jobs and they can select the job which they wanted to assign to themselves. So when they tap on view job, they'll have the option to assign job here. So when they tap on assign job, there'll be a pop-up saying the job is successfully assigned to you. Okay, so once they've done that, they can go back and see the job in view assigned jobs. So the job ID ending with 25 is now in view assigned jobs. So at this point, they can start inspection by tapping on view job, and then they can start the job. So the job status will be assigned for now because the job has not started yet. But once they tap on start job, I'll just go back to show that the job status is being updated as well. So now we can see it's in progress.
And that's a really good point there, Kiran, you made there, because I just want to make it clear to everyone that what Kiran is demonstrating here is actually the application. What you're seeing is actually an emulator, but the application is actually running on that emulator as it would on a mobile device. And so these progress changes you're seeing, those are actually happening in the backend database. Thank you, Kiran.
That's right. Thanks, Ahir. So when the caretaker starts the job again to carry out with the inspection, so they select the inspection, daily inspection here, and then this is what they'll see, what are the areas they need to inspect. So when they tap on areas to inspect, they'll be listed with all the questions and the areas they need to inspect as part of the daily inspection form. So they can carry on with all of these questions, and once they've inspected, so for example, they've inspected the external area, they tap on the inspected to mark this as inspected, and they carry on with all these questions. As part of their inspection.
So just to make it clear to everyone that what we're demonstrating here is actually the caretaker user journey here. So the fire and risk service area, they have a number of caretakers that will go into tower blocks and do inspections, fire and safety inspections. And typically what they do at the moment is they will be doing the same sort of thing, but on paper. And what the Kiran is demonstrating here is actually that the caretaker doing the same inspection, but now through this app.
Through this app using the mobile, yeah. So once they've finished all the questions within the first form, first section of the form, they can click on next to view the next set of questions, and then on the next page. So and then carry on with the next set of questions to inspect. Once they've inspected, they just tap on the inspect checkbox to mark that as inspected. And then I just wanted to finish all of the questions so I can show you that it's all been inspected now. So there's no more questions, so I can't scroll down anymore. And when there's no other forms, no other pages within the form, within the same daily inspection form, that's when we have the complete button enabled to say that we have completed with all the list of questions within this daily inspection form. So when we tap on complete, we go back to the start inspection, and we can see that all of the areas to inspect has been completed with the green tick here, the blue tick, and caretaker taps on continue to add any further notes or any attachments. If they needed to capture some photos and attach the photos, they can do that using add attachment, and they can also mark their signature as well. Quickly, so if I just tap in some comments.
So just while Kiran's doing that, in the previous when Kiran was demonstrating the inspection, so if you some of you may have noticed that there wasn't a scroll bar along the side just indicating that there were further questions below. So that came up. We have got a further user story to capture that in a later sprint, but that actually came about through our interaction with the business when they pointed that out to us. So again, just highlighting that this is an evolving way of working, and we're adapting to that change.
Okay.
And can I just Kiran, can I just add here? The demo is going to show this particular concept. So one of the real key elements for us for this to be a successful and scalable solution was not the proliferation of apps for every service area. So what you're seeing here is a form that is getting the configuration for this particular service area directly from the database. That allows us now to formally go forward and say we wanted another service area. We just configure that from the database, and the guys will show you how that happens in a bit more detail as we progress.
Azim, you've stolen Kieran's thunder there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah. Thanks, Azim. So once I've completed all the fields, what I wanted to capture, then as a caretaker, I can submit the inspection form. So
Kieran, are we going to be showing the risk stuff as well? Are we waiting on?
yes, we will. I'll just ask Naga to jump on 1 second. So your inspection report has been submitted with a confirmation message that the inspection report has been submitted successfully to the database. So when they tap on continue, they'll be returned back to the jobs. So for them to be able to tap on jobs and then pick the next job they wanted to assign to themselves, we're going in here. So so other side I wanted to show was obviously, as Azim mentioned, we are driving this all from the backend config. So I'll ask Naga now to just jump on to the database and update one of the questions just to show that we are deriving all this from the database config, just to update one of the questions with a config test as a suffix at the end.
Sure, I can do that, Kiran. But before that, do you want to highlight one of the questions where we would do the change just to see how it is right now, and then yeah.
So let me assign this job for myself. So job ID 29. I go back, assign jobs. I can see the job here. And then if I tap on start job, I had to fill in all the mandatory fields, which is working, as you guys can see that. So until I fill in all the mandatory fields, I can't navigate to the next page.
So, Ken, if you show one question, and then Naga will make the change to that question.
Yeah, Naga, can we just use this question then? Probably the second question.
Lifts and doors. Yeah, can we do that?
Lift or doors. At the moment, this is what we are deriving from the database. So Naga is going to update this question to have a suffix to say config test or something at the very end. When I navigate back to the same inspection form, I should see the question has been now updated. So I'll hand over to Naga.
Yeah, sure. I will be updating in a second now.
So Naga, who's coming on, is our data architect across the platforms, and also the data architect looking at risk marker as well.
So what Naga is doing? So what Naga is doing in the background here is that he's actually updating the config for that form, and what he's updating is actually what the mobile app will then take and using that config to render the form onto the mobile app application. So Kiran, if you bring your screen back up, and we should be able to now see that change. So Naga, have you completed your change?
Just a minute.
Just waiting for Naga to confirm before we go back into the form. Yeah.
And what we're trying to show everyone here is that the instant way of being able to make a change to the config and how it can be reflected on the mobile app, and the fact that this feature of what we've been developing, I've got to say, actually, it's not been an easy concept to grasp. And,
so, yeah, sorry to jump in there, but we can see now the lift dose has been updated for demo by Naga.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. So just on this particular aspect of this, what we've developed here, I think this is quite important that everybody understands the implication of this feature, because what this means is that we don't need to now develop each form and the look and feel of the form for the mobile app. Now, what we need to do now is just have an understanding of what questions and what kind of responses are required for those questions, and put that config into the database. Once that's there, then the mobile app will then take that configuration and render it on the mobile device, and so that now opens up the ability now to, as we bring on different service areas and we have different line of business applications. Yes, the mapping needs to be done for the fields, but all of that can be done in the back end. We don't need to actually now develop the GUI front end. The application takes care of all of that. And the other aspect of this being quite important is that there will be a standard now way of how we capture data, and that standardization then flows through for every new service area that we bring on board. So it's been a difficult concept to grasp, but I think the guys have done a fantastic job in trying to understand that concept, and then put it into practice in the development of the application. So okay, thank you, Kiran. Do you want to just cover off risk, please? Risk markers.
Yeah. So I just wanted to pick up this job here in unassigned jobs. As you can see, job ID ending with 43. Currently, we can easily identify whether the job has got a risk currently associated or not by just having this risk flag. So whichever job has got a risk associated, there'll be a risk flag against that job. So this 43 at the moment, as you guys can see, there's no risk. And I'll ask Naga to run his batch job, so that will link a risk to this job.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Kiran. So basically, just to give you a bit of a brief on this. So we have developed a matching process essentially. So the jobs exists, and then there is a risk marker database we are developing, as you know. So risks are logged within that data store, and simultaneously the jobs would exist in the fieldworker, the repository as well. So every time either a job or a risk being added, so we would kind of initiate this trigger process, and then which will try to match the jobs and to see whether there are any relevant risks to be linked to that. And the flags you see there, the risk marker flags there, are kind of arrived by identifying those matches. So what I'm going to kickstart at the back now is kind of in that matching process for that particular the job in essence, to see whether any other risks should be linked. So in this case, the job number 43. So just to kind of demonstrate that, but in the back end, it's all the code running. So I will kickstart that, and then you can see that if it finds risks, and then you should be able to see that. Give me a second again, if you don't mind. All right, now that's been done, Kiran. So you should be able to now kind of, if you go back, try to come back again, then.
Yes, thanks, Naga. So all I have to do is just navigate back and then tap on view unassigned jobs again. So now I can see there is a risk flag linked to this job ID. So I can also assign the job to myself and view the risk. So let me do that. So if I assign the job as a caretaker, job has been assigned. So now if I go back to assign jobs, so 43. So if I tap on view job, there's a risk. I can see view risk. So if I tap on view risk, it'll populate all the information relevant to that risk. So, fields here. Okay, that's all about risk, linking risk to a job and viewing the risk which is linked to the job. So now if I move on to the admin portal, so I'm already logged in. As you guys can see, this is still in development, obviously, but there's some features which are developed. As I can see, I'm logged in as myself, and I can see that as well. That this is my account as a manager. So all these are placeholders at the moment, but I think it's still in development, as Zahir has mentioned. There's the dashboard which gives us these options, and then currently there's a some work carried on to view all the blocks or buildings. All this data is being derived from the Northgate Housing database using APIs. So the APIs are having a unique identifier to link the data which they're trying to retrieve from the Northgate Housing and linking back to the block ID. This is not part of the Northgate House database, but all these block data is part of the Northgate Housing database, and that being retrieved by the APIs and hooked to the block ID which they're trying to retrieve from the database. So as a manager, if I have got a block and associated some jobs against the block, and if I have some of these jobs being picked up by a caretaker and suddenly he has to be, for personal reasons, he has to be off sick or away and he can't carry on with the job. So he rings the supervisor or his line manager to say that, he cannot proceed with the job which he has assigned and started. So then the supervisor can log into the admin portal, navigate to the blocks, search for the block using search field here as well. If I search for the block, for example, 64, it's still in development, so I can see that block here. So if I click on view against that block ID, I can then reassign that job. So for example, if the job ending with 28 has been started, but the caretaker is unable to progress the work on this job, then the line manager can log into the portal, select that job, and then assign cover, and then search for a different person name, for example, and then assign it to different person and assign cover. So cover has been assigned. Yeah. That's how we can reassign. That's how the supervisor or manager can reassign a job to some other caretaker.
Yeah, and I think Kieran, if you want to mention these requirements again were from the business, they wanted it this way to show this. So we spoke with Dave again, engaging with the business owners, who the caretaker manager is, and we had lots of sit downs with him, and then we collaborate together to come up with. So it's all in sync with the business as well.
Yeah. Thanks so far. Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you, Kieran. So I hope that gives everyone a flavor of progress so far. So don't and just to reiterate that what you've seen today is actually the application in development in its development phase. And you'll see it in the subsequent sprints. You'll see it progressing further. And what I mean, it may be slightly different to what you see today, but you will see it progressing, and it's the way that we are working on it is that we're looking to deliver aspects of it as we go along. So and you'll see see it progressing. Azim, do you want to add anything?
No. Can I just add? You know, we are only where we are today through the determination of the field worker team, but just equally so is the support that we've received across IT&D in helping assist the core team members actually get through the sprint goals and be able to make the progress and do the development and build. So big thanks and shout out to everybody in IT&D who's helped and been so approachable to the field worker team and so welcoming. Thank you very much, IT&D. Back to you, Azim.
Yeah, no, I just want to reiterate that I think the support that we've been getting from the ops teams is been amazing, but I think the real key to this is that constant collaboration that we've had also with the business, and them feeding into this. So I think that's been good. You know, one of the hardest things that we've had is to build a generic platform for all. And you know, we're making some good strides there. I think it's going to take some time before you start seeing some level of maturity in the product, but it's definitely getting to a point that we'll be able to start scaling this up to other service areas without necessarily returning to actually writing massive amounts of code or specifically developing elements for each and every service area. But yeah, I think that's a really good demo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tahir, is that the end of the demo?
That was the end of the demo. So we wanted to leave some time for questions.
Okay, open up the floor, everyone. Are there any questions people would like to raise to the team while everybody's here?
I just want to reply to Tom. So Tom's asked, what range of databases are you accessing to inform the risk categories? We've got I don't know, Naga, if you want to jump in, but there's I think 5 or 6 core systems that we've looked into in the way that they're recording risk. Now Tom, we've had an interesting time with regards to risk in particular, because they don't store, so within Birmingham, we don't necessarily store all of our risk information within the key line of business applications. Sometimes they're being stored in documents embedded in there. So it depends really upon some of the key teams. But the other challenge that we've had is that when some of the line of business are storing the risks, they're sometimes storing them within notes fields and not necessarily specific risk elements. So we've had a bit of a challenge in terms of taking the understanding or seeing how that data can be migrated over. And actually, one of the decisions from working with the business was to actually, we're not going to migrate a lot of the data, only because it's never been reviewed. So a lot of those risks we don't know are live risks or there. So I think it was only one line of business that I've actually said we do want to bring our data over. We still need to cleanse it, but we're going to bring that data over into the central repository. A lot of the others, we're going to start from scratch. We're not going to allow some of that for them to update risk in their line of business applications. We're going to then start slowly, organically growing that understanding of risk. And one of the key things that we want to try to establish is that we've got a risk profile for a single citizen across the directorates. That is the biggest thing that we want to try to achieve. Now, that's not going to happen on day one. I think that will happen over time as we start making the central repository the key source of data for risks. All right, cheers.
And Azim, just to catch on the back of what you said there about the creating more risk and identifying risk, Tom, we're going to have part of the admin panels will be for a manager to approve that risk as well. So we don't go back to that, is it an actual risk in the database or not? So that's going to be part of the admin as well. That's in the future sprints.
Yeah, absolutely. And last thing, I think, Tom, for your purposes, actually, we've had another local authority reach out to us. I've just got another email from them. What I'll do is I'll pass their details onto you, Tom, but we are already starting to share the information that we have in terms of how we've taken over the concept of the risk model. So we can link you into some of that as well in terms of the work, some of the sharing that we're doing across that.
That'd be great. That's super interesting, and your project, like quite a few others, is your interesting point where you're looking to access sensitive data, actually to help your team, your people. But yeah, it's going across database. It's a really interesting time. So thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, everyone. So if there's no further questions, I'll bring the meeting to a close. As always, please reach out and give me a shout if you've got any questions or queries. I'm really happy to have a chat. So have a great weekend, everyone, and thank you for your ongoing support. And I'll see you soon. All right then. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
all. Take care.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you later, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.